Hey. Oh, looks like I'm making a mess. Hey, I'm Baldy. I'm a 25-year-old burnout. Yeah. Essentially, I'm a guy who went to college, did all the things right, was one of those people who was known for their incredible intelligence, and somewhere along the line, everything went wrong, Mentally gifted kids always going down the bad lanes or whatever. I did nothing but work odd, shitty jobs. I dropped out of college, got into legal issues. I was all kinds of a mess. And now I'm at the old age of 25. Nowhere in my life. And I I guess I'm at a point where I'm not sure where I want to go with things. I enjoy so much of life, and I hate so much of it too. I've been trying to record more videos to myself to try and get used to talking to a camera. I've tried finding new work that was meaningful and fulfilling, only to never hear back. I've suffered the 21st century problem of having way too much and not being able to tolerate being bored. I have lived a life of excess, And in living this life of excess, I've come to a really, really great conclusion. Man, I don't give a fuck. I will sit here for 8 hours running RuneScape agility courses, and it feels just as enticing as completing a fucking novel, which is insane. It doesn't make any sense. Because it's not actually fulfilling. I think what's actually happening is I can immediately accomplish something through a video game, or through watching a movie, or experiencing someone else's story, then trying to formulate my own. And while I'm aware of this problem, obviously, because I can bring it up and talk about it, I do not feel a strong drive for change, because despite how societally I am perceived as some kind of a worse person, I'm still enjoying my time. So, am I wrong? Or am I crazy? Probably. But ultimately, it's my fucking life, so who cares, right? Who gives a shit? And me recording this is just me trying to find some confidence or motivation in what I'm doing. Because obviously I don't want to sit here and run Sears Village course 1,000 times to try and get a sense of meaning when I could create something. And I've started picking up things again, I write out I look, ignore the shitty drawings, but I got terrible ideas and ideas for writing. I also write down recipes in here. I've started putting things down in physical books. I am making active change to be a better person, but the only way I was able to make that change is by accepting sometimes I don't want to do shit. Sometimes it's okay to relax and be kind of a piece of shit. Run your Sears Village course. Run your fucking, I don't know, raids or whatever. Play Overwatch 2 all day. I don't give a fuck, as long as at some point you find some sense of meaning in what you're doing, right? I justify this in some way, I'm sure. Oh god. I don't know really how to formulate my thoughts. I'm a piece of shit. I'm just rambling. Recording forces me to talk. Am I finding a sense of meaning in what I'm doing? I don't know. I don't know. And it's very strange that the only way to have a dialogue with myself is out loud. Because, they say the mind and body is separate or whatever. And now in my head, when I'm talking, that's kind of the body speaking. Though when I'm talking mentally, I'm kind of locked as well. It's when you have 1,000 thoughts running through your head. So just imagine this. We got a small herd of sheep. There's the little black sheep thought. The black sheep thought will be your first thought. The weird, terrible thing or the absolute genius thing that you completely dropped and forgot, and you're like, damn, I was building all this evidence for this one idea or whatever in my head, and now I cannot do that. I cannot explain my thought because I forgot what the original thought was. I.e., what I'm gonna probably be doing this entire video. I forgot what the original thought was. So like, bruh, I forgot what the original thought was. Black sheep, army, large group, many thoughts, a racing tirade of thoughts. You're filled with all these thoughts, you have your first thought, it's the black sheep. Trying to pluck that out, to me, that is the body. There we go. That was the point I was trying to get to. Your first thought is kind of that black sheep, and that to me is the body, and it's action, it's doing the thing, you know? When I force myself to write, I get my body to move and I ignore my brain's wants and deceptions saying, hey, you don't want to do that. You don't want to write out your thoughts for the day. You don't want to organize. That would take time. That would take effort. None of that will actually help you because it's not doing anything right now. But physically, if I don't, do it anyway, I would still be doing nothing. But for some reason, it's more justifiable to drop an action. To drop completely what I'm doing so that I can feel better. Like, it feels better to abandon something than it does to actually follow through. And with the whole mind-body connection, I feel like trying to get closer to that mind-body connection has led me to not giving a fuck about my vices. Because sometimes the most action I can complete is what my body wants, and usually what my body wants is to put ungodly amounts of time into playing RuneScape. Sometimes my body wants to fervently draw and create, large videos and set pieces. Sometimes my body wants to talk about what's in there, and it wants the first thoughts out. It wants to record and edit and to do all the things that are creatively liberating. And then I am filled with doubt, insecurity, this deep dredging fear that everything I'm doing has no meaning, and I can't shake that feeling. And then I guess that kind of leads to me not doing the thing, or as I ultimately put it, I'm fucking lazy. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want my work to be for naught. I don't want to fail. And you can't fail in most video games or something. Something where you're putting in the time and the effort and getting a direct result doesn't often exist in the real world. I mean, you can say it with like a run-of-the-mill hourly job. Hey, the amount of hours you put in results in ultimately some kind of gain. But I wouldn't even say that's true, because you work your 9 to 5 and sometimes RNG fucks you. They send you home. Or in one case, what happened when I was working at a Chipotle, they'll just fire you, or not fire you, they'll take you off the schedule, essentially firing you. So all that time you put in, all that overtime and stuff that you were building up for more money, doesn't matter. You can put in the extra time, but ultimately someone else's goals will override yours and they will fuck you. At least that's how I feel. And that's all, that makes it really hard for me to want to run a 9 to 5 and find fulfillment in that. I don't feel any direct result. I need results to my actions. I need something tangible, and I need to understand that I did the best that I could, or the worst that I could, but ultimately it was up to me. And I feel like I've been forced into this box, right? This box of self-discovery or whatever, where all that I have found is that I hate when my life is reliant on other people, but I'm reliant on other people for my life to have meaning. Does that make sense? Of course it doesn't. At the end of the day, you could just say I'm stoned and let all this information go, or not understand it all, which is much more likely. But I think what I'm trying to say is I'm going to try and bring that I don't give a fuck energy that has been allowing me to live in degeneracy this past maybe 2 weeks, I want to say. 2 weeks of me just doing what I truly love and want, regardless, just fully following whims, visiting people, leaving, taking action on despite my body or despite my mind's insecurity. Even if that action isn't necessarily fruitful, it's much more fulfilling and enjoyable to live my life in a way where I can run Sears Village course and record a video about me running Sears Village course and feel good about myself. Oops, I hit my microphone. Whoopsie. Should I wait? If I bring my mic over here, will I feel more like a YouTuber? Hello, welcome to the Baldy Podcast. That was a stupid bit. There's something that happens to you too, I think, when you're trapped alone for a while, where you get delirious and time just doesn't become real. And I feel like that's definitely a part of, the games I play and my lack of social interaction outside of like Discord. But I think that's fine, honestly. I'm kind of getting used to the delirium, and as I'm making my way through the fog that I've created of my life, and as I followed through with being this burnout character who kind of lives life very, very on the edge, barely making ends meet, I've found the most fulfillment in years, in a weird way, in utter isolation. And I guess for now it's me getting to know myself and really starting to love who I am, despite how I kind of want to cry right now. You can probably hear it in my voice. I kind of want to cry right now. Where like thinking about myself outside of my own head feels really like it doesn't feel like something I should do. And this is now one of those things that is at the forefront of thought. It's gonna be my current vice, is just talking and putting my words out there and having people be forced to subject themselves to it or to bail, which is much more likely. I have terrible retention. People don't give a shit about what I have to say, but honestly, maybe that's for the best, because with that in mind, as I get deeper into these videos, I can kind of speak more candidly and feel more vindicated that there's not going to be that much judgment. And maybe it grows or whatever, but the me right now feels safe in doing so, and I think that's fine. The me right now is happy with me sitting here in front of a camera, speaking, without script, obviously, and with no key points, nothing aside from stream of consciousness and hedony. Like, is it hedony? Hedonistic? I'm going towards hedonistic tendencies, where I do the things that make me happy, and then I get clocked back down. You know what? Fuck it. This is just gonna be me rambling anyway. Let me explain the hedonic treadmill for anyone who doesn't understand in a really simple way. There's positive people, there's negative people, there's neutral people. If you think of a hedonic treadmill, you can think +1, -1, and then we got the 0, obviously. So what happens? If you're on the -1, you have the capacity to feel happiness. What'll happen is you go up. You'll go up to either a 0 or maybe even a +1. But over time, you're going to fall back down to that -1. And just the same with positive people. They tend to, they go from their +1, but they can experience a negative emotion. They'll hit a -1. And then they'll slowly build themselves back up to either a positive or a neutral. It's not to say that your mindset can't change. It's just that most people are typically disposed to a negative, positive, or contented mindset. I find myself often living in an extremely negative one. Excuse me. And to kind of substantiate the hedony, I fall into vices. I have an addictive personality. I enjoy gambling. I enjoy playing games that take way too much of my time, like MMOs and grindy things. I'll sit there and play Cookie Clicker for fucking hours because it gives me more dopamine than most things that should give people meaning in life, because it's a consistent stream of that positive one energy that I need. Because those moments where I feel intense happiness, that sense of fulfillment you get from creating something and putting it out there, that strong boost of, yes, I did it, that successful feeling goes away so fast. I fall so quickly back into hating myself and feeling insecure about my work and disregarding my own art or lack thereof, and I just lose it. I feel like I'm going crazy, and I'm kind of just trying to work against that now. I want to find a more contented mindset by accepting that I am a piece of shit, but also I have a god complex. I'm a piece of shit who thinks he's better than everyone. So don't fucking, obviously no one fucking listens to me. A lot of people don't like what I have to say. I don't like what I have to say very often, but it's usually my first and frontal thought that that gets me into less trouble. It's like, for some reason, the longer I'm in my head, the quicker I am to play devil's advocate, if this makes sense. Oh my god. Like, if I sit here and talk, I tend to be more self-critical and self-analytical, and I hate myself and I despise a lot of things, and those are my first thoughts. But when I sit there and I have a deeper inner monologue, you know, that little voice in your head that you have, or I know some people can't hear voices or see images, but there's some level of dialogue, I feel like, before an action that most people have internally before they take action, you know? Whether it's to, you know, lie to a kid about Santa. That's a little lie, but, you know, you don't automatically go, oh, I need to tell the truth about this. You withhold that information because you're like, it's not my place, or whatever. Or you break the news like me, like a fucking idiot. And you go, well, Santa's not real because that's what I value. And that's like, it makes me look like an asshole. But like, it's because I said that. I'm like, hey, Santa's not real. But the real internal dialogue, if I don't speak at all, which is why very often I don't speak at all, is, oh, that kid wants to know the truth, and they're seeking an understanding of Santa. They want to know what's happening in this world, and they're analyzing the environment around them and trusting the adults around them to give them correct information. They want to be happy and joyful about Christmas, and so I need them to understand that Santa's not real, and they can appreciate their parents or whoever got them the gifts, and maybe even pass on the tradition to continue kind actions with others. And that's my internal monologue. That's great. That sells well and good. Intention's lovely. But the reality that comes out is, well, Santa's not real. Like, and then you don't get to explain that deeper thought because, one, the kid's not going to understand. Two, the parent's not going to care because regardless, your action is what matters. And like, three, you're mouthing off about things that aren't your place. And that's in a funny way. I don't think I can stop that. I can't stop myself from saying dumb shit because I so badly need to get my opinion validated or to get my internal monologue finally ousted into a world of people who are willing to listen and either be vindicated in my beliefs or absolutely shunned and told, hey, yeah, no, that's kind of a shit take. And then I go, well, I guess I have shit takes too. Because, well, as a human, I'm not going to change. Most people are prone to not change. I don't know. I feel like the best way to view it is you can't really change someone who's not willing to change, which is like the most common thing ever. I'm sure 1,000 people have said that. It's just, I feel like I've been stuck in my own head, and not allowing anything else to come out because I don't want to insult or hurt those around me. But then ultimately, I feel as though my wordless arguments and kind of my silent reaction and representation of my inward beliefs will be not only understood but embellished upon and responded to by my friends and the people around me. But realistically, despite, you know, all the embellishment of these ideas that I expect, reflection and or like a cross-examination interrogating between our ideals, instead, I just look like a fucking bumbling asshole. And I have to now begin understanding myself in a way that I can be happy with that. I need to be happy with kind of being a prick, or learn how to not be a prick in a way that still makes me happy. So I've, for some reason, chosen to continue being a prick, I'm thinking, ultimately, by this route I'm growing. But I think I'm also helping bridge the communicative barrier between my thoughts and my actions. Because if my thoughts are for the greater good and my actions are for the greater detriment, why am I acting before I finish thinking? I don't want to be stuck in my head, but maybe that's what it is. I don't want to be stuck in my head. Maybe I need to act more, because my action of just giving the first thought and not elaborating further isn't enough. But then there comes the new issue, is that's really fucking annoying. Like, that's super annoying. Can you imagine if someone, you know, gave you their first thought and then just didn't shut up about it in the middle of like normal human conversation? Isn't that really frustrating? Like, I know I'd get frustrated with it. If it's like me going, oh, you know, I go, hey, Santa Claus isn't real. We'll go back to that example. My first thought. Kid talks about Santa. I go, Santa Claus isn't real. I figure they want to know the truth without actually requesting it or having any real good way to gauge if I should question it. And instead of, you know, just saying that and going, oh, I assumed that they knew, or trying to come up with some excuse or reasoning. You remember? Oh, excuse or reasoning. Train of thought went that way. It's going somewhere. Sorry, I disassociate a lot. This little communicative thing we're gonna be doing, it'll have some editing and stuff. This is the barrier in between when my brain is go, because I think into some other thought, and my mouth can no longer keep up with the train that is my head. So let me see. Oh yeah, why it would be annoying. So Santa isn't real. And then after that, going to the person, you know, I told Santa was real. It's like, and then lecturing them, essentially. Going, hey, you know, Santa isn't real. I figured you'd want to know the truth. And then them going, well, that means my parents lied to me. So now they think you're a prick because your parents aren't the one that broke the truth. It was a complete third party. So it wasn't your place. Them following up with, like, why wouldn't they? There's always a sense of betrayal from it. Them responding with not caring, and it's like, so what if Santa isn't real? You know, you're like ruining the fun. Like, you buzzkill. It's like an actually ass person. Like, there's no good reason to do that. But my brain does it. I think in a weird way what I'm ultimately coming to is I'm trying to get used to being an asshole and being happy with it, so that I can cross that barrier of only being able to communicate my first thought and not get lost and disassociate in my delirium from being self-isolated. I mean, I'm in a room all day playing fucking RuneScape, talking with a select few people, and the few times I get out is to literally get you know, extremely intoxicated out of my brain. like to the point where thoughts are not the driving motivation anymore when I'm outside these four walls. I don't. None of this is gonna make any sense. I. You wanna know? There's this thing I've been thinking about from CJ the X's video recently. Incredible content creator, by the way. Really great when you're super fucking stoned and you want to hear a bunch of flowery prose exactly about those little brainworms you got trapped in your head. Absolutely recommend. But he had brought up some subject. It was dialectics, I believe, because he's a BPD fella. And dialectics are the idea of a thesis, an antithesis, and the synthesis. So, you get your thought, you contradict that thought immediately, and then you synthesize to create a new ultimate thought. So, water is liquid. Antithesis, well, actually, that actually voice. Well, actually, water is 100 at 100 degrees or whatever turns into gas. I think was the example in one of the videos I was using to understand the concept. And then so you have this dichotomy where, yes, this is true, but even though this is a contradicting statement saying, hey, no, that's not completely true, it's still close to the truth. So what you do is, with the thesis and the antithesis, you synthesis, you bring them together. Water can be liquid or gaseous, depending on the state of temperature. But then you go, well, it can also be ice. So what happens then? Well, using that synthesis, you form a new thesis. That is now your thesis. And then you grab a new antithesis. And further synthesis can happen. So now water can be a gas or a liquid, depending on the temperature, is the thesis. Actually, it can also be a solid in freezing temperatures is the antithesis. Now you bring it down to the third, the new synthesis. Water changes states of matter. Water can be all three states of matter depending on temperature. There you go. That's the fucking idea. Very hard for me to bring up because my brain is all scrambled and scattered, and I'm trying to stay on a cohesive line of thought, but also do a bunch of. My brain is dumb. Okay, I'm filled with spread. Whatever. Skip this. Anyway, yeah. So that's the idea. CJ was talking about dialectics, and I realize now that very frequently I am stuck in the antithesis of my thoughts, because it's not that I disbelieve the first thought usually. It's that I want to further a breadth of knowledge of the thought. And I enjoy that type of conversation. I enjoy philosophical debate. I very often, it's really bad, I very often question people now when I first meet them or talk to them about transhumanism. Would you be willing to convert your body into a cybernetic thing? Would you give up parts of your original humanity in order to gain essentially immortality and improved functionality? Because I would, and I very often kind of intro with, I would, so that the people with their preconceived notions are like, well, no, we care about humanity first. Like they're gonna be, I think their first thesis will be, well, no, I wouldn't do that because I am a human, and as a human I shouldn't want to be not that. But I approach them with this antithesis, immediately with the stance that they're probably going to go against, saying, hey, despite me being human, I've deeply considered transhumanism a very possible thing that I would go through with. It's a very possible idea that I'm willing to sleep with. And others will latch on to that, and you get very interesting conversations. You have a lot of fun debates, and you meet interesting people talking to them this way. But it doesn't make for good conversation with everyone, and it's not the best first impression, and it's a little weird. And all of those things are deep-seated insecurities within me, and probably not even true at all. Maybe every person I've had this conversation with has enjoyed, talking about this. Maybe it was a little uncomfortable for them, but it made them think deeper about it. But regardless of the result, my internal monologue does not have that information, so I can only perceive it in the most negative light at the immediate forefront. So when I talk about it, I'll go, hey, what do you think about transhumanism? And I have this conversation, but then despite my intention, I will go and downplay my own thing and go, I mean, you don't have to really talk about it. It's kind of stupid, but, I'll downplay my own point. I'll placate myself. Is that the right word? Alexa, define placate.
As a verb, placate is usually defined as to appease or pacify, especially by concessions or conciliatory gestures.
God.
For more,
Alexa,
to give you more
Alexa, shut up. God damn. I still got it. Sometimes. College burnout, baby. So I'll placate myself by kind of feeding my grandiosity by saying, hey, even if it was really stupid, even if they didn't answer, I know I was having the smart conversation. I was having the real conversation. I'm better. And then I think about that, and then I get insecure about it. It's like, am I really better? I sound kind of like a prick. And this is right now I'm giving you my internal monologue to kind of represent how deeply I think about things, and very often I cannot vocalize them. I am my own thesis and antithesis and synthesis, but I cannot vocalize. I don't reach the final point within Hegel's representation of dialectics. It's such a mess. So how do I organize this mess of thoughts? How do I further myself as a person? How do I dedicate myself to art and creation, or to work and production? How do I make myself useful to society? That's the secret. I fucking don't. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no fucking idea. Bye. That's it. That's the fucking video. I don't know. This is where I'm at. This is the conversation. Maybe I'll talk about something else on another day. Hold on, let's see. What was the XP gains during this? Oh boy, I'm hitting 29k XP an hour. Wow, and what's my agility at? It's 77. I hit 77 agility, boys. Bye. This has been the Baldy Podcast. Yes, that's really what it is. 100%. Definitely not capping on God. For real. Have a lovely night, everyone. Like and subscribe.